What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/ProRevenge. This story's called, I Can Embarrass You More. When they were younger, my kids would argue about everything, and I mean everything. Who sat where, who went through a door first, who got to pat the dog first. They didn't care where we were. If it could be argued over, they would argue. It would start as a verbal argument, but would quite often end in pushing and shoving. As well as being annoying, it could also be embarrassing when we were in a public space, especially as both my kids are tall and looked a lot older than they were. So at 10 and 8, they looked 14 and 12. Damn. Although this makes them sound like brats, they weren't. When they weren't arguing about stupid stuff, they got on really well and were and are good kids. And most of the time, I accepted it as a phase. But the day came when I had had enough. They'd argued from the moment I met them at the school gate, through getting into the car, the journey to the supermarket, getting out of the car, and walking up to the store and trolley bay. Cue a new argument about who would push the trolley. They both grabbed it, got inside the entrance, and stopped close to where people were both entering and leaving, i.e. where there was a large audience. They then start to literally fight over who should push the trolley. They were each trying to push the other one's hand off the handle, shouldering each other out of the way, and doing the whole, "Mom, it's my turn! Mom, make him stop!" etc., etc. People had started to do that thing where they are walking really slowly past us whilst pretending not to notice. That's funny. So I sat down on the floor and I started to sing. I can't remember what the song was, but I really can't and shouldn't sing. I am completely tuneless and don't even sing in the shower as I offend my own ears. Now, people did stop and openly stare. My kids didn't notice straight away. It took a few minutes for the sound of my singing to percolate through their arguing. When it finally did, they realized that we were surrounded by a group of people and their mother was sitting on the floor singing really, really badly. My daughter hissed at me, "Mom, what are you doing? Stop it! It's really embarrassing!" And I said, "Yep, it sucks, doesn't it?" Then I got up off the floor, bowed to the audience of shoppers, grabbed the trolley, and walked off to the veg aisle whilst whistling a merry little tune. It was a sweet, sweet moment. Edit. Thank you all so much for the awards and comments. I didn't expect this response and reply to the question, do they embarrass me in public again? If I saw it brewing, all I had to do was clear my throat and give them that certain look that all moms have. The one with the slightly raised eyebrow that says, "Are you sure you want to be doing this?" Sometimes I'd also hum a couple of lines just to relish the appalled expressions on their faces. Creative momming there. Like, I don't know, like I'm assuming it becomes like a thing you start to care about less as a parent, getting embarrassed in public. So yeah, I'm really glad that over time you developed less and less shame. This story's called, Want to Not Clean a Store Amidst a Pandemic? Enjoy the health department. So I worked at a store, a cookie cutter store that is a well-known chain. We begin the tale when I first started. I started at this store in June of 2020, about 3 months into the global pandemic. After working there for a little bit, I noticed that I was never told when and with what I was supposed to clean the carts and baskets, nor anything in the store. So I went to my store manager and asked, what am I supposed to clean the carts with? To which she responded with, "Oh, that's not your job. They clean the store at night, so it doesn't matter." I was a little suspicious of this response because our store manager didn't even let us vacuum the store. So I asked the assistant managers that close, to which they said that they in fact do not wipe any of the carts down. So then the next day, I come in and the store manager comes to me and says, "Oh, I never answered your question. Here are some wipes. You can wipe them down if you want to, but you know the virus is spread through the air, and that is why we have to wear these stupid masks. So wiping things down doesn't really do anything. It also makes all the carts sticky and gross. Also, if you want to be technical, we would need to wipe down all the merchandise too, because you have the people in the factories that make them touching them, and then the redistribution centers, then us, and it would be a mess and take too long." I literally sat there biting my tongue so so hard. Most of our customers are older people who live off of government benefits, and they come in and buy stuff because it's insanely cheap. So my store manager wasn't only putting them at risk, but the employees too. So I took the wipes and would wipe everything down as much as possible during my shift. However, sadly, I could only do it twice per shift, the start and end of my shift. Eventually, I got tired of being the only one attempting to clean the store, so I called the lovely health department. When they responded to my call, I was amazed at the stuff we were supposed to be doing that we weren't doing, such as rotating registers, having a dedicated person to clean the carts, being allowed every hour to go wash our hands, etc. I filled out my report and was told they would be in contact. However, I wasn't sure if they would actually do it, so I filed another complaint with the corporate office just to cement my bases. When I called corporate, I told them everything else my boss was doing, such as throwing merchandise. If it wasn't put out to her liking, she would literally pull it off the shelf and throw it. Talking bad about employees to other managers, I have video evidence of her blaming all the staff on why nothing gets done, and all we do is sit around and talk, and for literally telling us not to enforce the mask mandates or the elderly shopping hours. I eventually did quit, and a couple of days later, I simply walked out. Fast forward 2 weeks, I go back in because I needed something, and I hear that the boss has been suspended for 2 weeks for failure to comply with the company policies and local mandates. They also hired a cleaning company to come and clean the store, and hired someone just to clean the store throughout the day. If this doesn't belong in this thread, please let me know. I wasn't sure where to put this because I didn't think it belonged in Nuclear Revenge. Yeah, it's good enough here. Good on you for having morals and for being, not an idiot with regards to the pandemic. So yes, good job. This story's called Husband and I versus Impatient Douchebag. This happened before the quarantine and my work from home order. My husband and I always drove separately to the gym from work, and then we left together for home. One day while driving back home, I drove in front with him right behind me, and in my rearview mirror, I noticed a guy aggressively tailgating husband. We were already above the 35-mile-per-hour speed limit in a residential neighborhood, and it was like this for a good 5 minutes on a one-lane street. Normally, husband isn't the one to get bothered by other drivers. In fact, I'm the one with the road rage. So despite what was happening, I didn't think he cared about the guy who was bumper to bumper with him. He followed me at my pace. Not once did he press closer to me as if to pressure me to drive faster, so he maintained a safe distance the entire time. We all arrived at traffic lights where drivers commonly turned left onto another road, a 2-lane street. Husband and I waited in the left lane as usual. It turned out that Douchebag needed to turn left too. The light flicked green, all three of us turned onto the new street, and that was when my body reacted before I even knew what I was doing. Some people know this, some don't. But when you're really in tune with someone like a life partner or best friend, you start thinking the same way. I found the same mental wavelength as husband. We both knew that at that left turn, 90% of drivers want to take a right turn at the next immediate traffic lights. So he and I passed into the right lane immediately, and Douchebag took his opportunity and swerved into the left lane. I knew from previous experience on that road that he was gonna try and cut in front of husband. So before Douchebag could cut back into the right lane, my foot eased off the gas, slowing my car, and I watched my rear view as husband pressed on his gas. In just a few seconds, we'd managed to eliminate any chance for Douchebag to cut in between. At the lights, I watched the green arrow for the right turn become yellow. I turned right, husband turned right, and the light turned red, forcing Douchebag to stop. So I drove all the way home, grinning at my rear view at Douchebag, who was forced to wait as traffic continued. When husband and I actually got home, I mentioned it to him, still surprised that we had pulled off something petty together, and we both laughed. That is so adorable. Good job putting a tailgater in their place. Freaking tailgaters, man. Them and their barbecue. Get it, like tailgating, like a football game or something? Yeah. That's actually really cool, though. I want to do that. Someone should invite me to a tailgate party. Also, this couple right here. They were what I like to call dishes, as in they were in sync. Little cool story about that. Like, me and my cousins, we used to play Cloudberry Kingdom on my PlayStation 3. It's a really fun platforming game, multiplayer platforming game. And, like, we would do these super difficult, runs, and we'd all jump together and be like, dishes, 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 because we were in sync and, like, doing the same exact thing as each other. It was so fun. Oh, that's such a good game, Cloudberry Kingdom. This story's called Hog All the Parking at the Top of the Hill, Enjoy Waiting to Get Out of the Driveway. This happened years ago, back when I was still working residential healthcare. One of the houses that I worked at had a really steep driveway that led from the road up to the front door and garage. There was room to park at the top of the driveway in the front of the entrance, and there was more than enough room for 2 cars to park side by side in this area. Since my shift was the overnight and usually involved arriving and leaving in the dark, and because my car had already been broken into once in that area, I was not comfortable with parking at the bottom of the hill. This usually wasn't an issue. Usually. Cue a coworker whose name I couldn't remember if I tried. In addition to the healthcare work, she was also a correctional officer and had this "I'm boss, I'm better than you" air about her, which explained why she liked to park her truck right in the middle of the parking area at the top of the hill, taking up both spots. I mentioned it to her 2 or 3 times that if she parked a bit further to the right or left, we would both be able to park there and I wouldn't have to go through the process of parking at the bottom of the hill, clocking in, waiting for her to leave, then going out and moving my car to the safe location. She refused to change her parking habits, and I was getting increasingly frustrated by the petty behavior. One night, I was venting to my mother about the situation when she gave me the perfect solution. The next night, I was relieving this particular coworker at this particular house. Sure enough, she had her truck hogging up the entire upper parking area. So I pulled my car up right behind hers, blocking her from pulling out. I clocked in, checked in with her about any important information about the clients, then excused myself to the bathroom while she got ready to leave. Less than 30 seconds after going into the bathroom, she's knocking at the door to inform me that my car is blocking her and I need to move it. Naturally, I act shocked. "Oh no, you can't get around it? Shoot, I thought for sure I left enough room for you to get around it. Alright, so sorry about that. Just give me a minute and I'll be right out." I then proceeded to kick back and play on my phone for the next 10 minutes, leaving her standing outside the bathroom door with an attitude so strong I can practically feel it pulsing through the door. Once I decided she'd waited long enough, I made a show of flushing the toilet and washing my hands before finally coming out and moving my car so she could leave. She was so pissed that she didn't say a single word to me the entire time. I'll tell you one thing though, she learned her damn lesson and she never took up both spots at the top of the hill again after that. Ew, good job. Very good revenge. Tell your mom she's a genius, a champ, and give her an Olympic gold medal, one that you've either won yourself or that you've stolen from an Olympic athlete. This story's called Don't Live Here and Keep Parking in My Assigned Spot. I didn't want to give the ending away in the title. Little background. I live in an apartment complex that has been taken over by new management. He's a great landlord, but has been slow to truly implement some rules in the leasing contract. One of the rules is only 1 parking space per owner. Meanwhile, visitors must park on the public street in front of the building. Now, when I first moved in last year, they didn't have assigned spots, so you would just kind of park wherever. This past summer, landlord and maintenance spent an entire day repainting lines and assigning each spot to a number to correspond with apartment numbers. It has been brought up in memos and meetings that he will start to implement the towing of non-authorized vehicles and has even hired someone to keep track of this, apparently. This hadn't been an issue until I went to work. I would leave, leave, go work my shifts, and come home to find my assigned spot taken by a random vehicle. I don't know where the driver is, so I would leave a note saying that this was reserved for my apartment number. Twice I did this. One time I had knocked on the hood of the driver to get their attention so they could leave and I could have my spot back. This last time, though, pissed me off. I was getting my kids in the car to take them to school. There's this car that is creeping the parking lot, and I know saw me parked in my spot. They left. I happened to get out of the parking lot just in time to see them turn back into the lot. I followed them back in, and my suspicions were confirmed. He parked in my spot. I pull up with my window down and yell at him that I live here and that is my assigned parking. They move. Again, I had to work that night. I leave and come back to find a different vehicle parked in my spot. This would make 5 different vehicles in the span of 2 weeks. There are also signs posted in front of each spot that only 1 spot per owner and violators will be towed. I parked directly behind them. I ended up blocking the previous car that I yelled at and the new car, I was horizontal compared to their vertical, and made sure I left room for other vehicles to get through the lot. You couldn't get in from the passenger side, and I left my vehicle there, parked directly behind them and boxed them in. My boyfriend ended up answering the door when the owner came and asked if we could move my car so they could get out. He later told me that he explained that it was reserved parking. Haven't had an issue so far after that. Edited to add 1. Thank you for the silver. 2. I am seeing to call a tow truck each time. That would require a call to my landlord, and he owns a couple of other businesses in town, population of like 3,000 people, so he doesn't always answer right away. I don't want to start too much drama or cause too much crap since I know the landlord would be first called. Signs also say would be towed at owner's expense, but not sure who is owner in this term and don't want to find out. I'm assuming owner of vehicle, but I don't have the $200 to find out. Yeah, I think it's the vehicle, but I'm not smart, so. That sounds incredibly annoying. I don't know what I would do if someone stole my spot like that. I'd probably just take a lot of dumps on car hoods. Am I ashamed of it? Yeah, that was my go-to answer, but the truth is the truth.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.